Eraserhead is my most spiritual film.
Why will elaborate on that?
No.
And I make films because I have not learned anything else.
Welcome. This is the Emma of the Impact Film Podcast, and you're all gonna die down there. Today we discuss 1993's Body Snatchers. This is my guest,
Rainbow Fright.
This film, Body Snatchers, what could it be about? I wonder if there's a connection to other films that maybe you and I have discussed on your podcast. We've seen it done in a small town where everybody knows everybody. We've seen it in a metropolitan city, but have we seen it on an army base? No.
We have not.
No, we haven't. So this is a reimagining of the Body Snatchers. I'd say reimagining. What word would you use?
Reinterpretation.
Good, I like that. Why did you pick this reinterpretation?
I'm a huge fan of the 78 film Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I actually over on my channel have a series where with a guest I talk about a movie and compare it to its remake. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers has been on my list for a long time. I'll give my guest about 3 options to choose from, and it just hasn't been picked yet. And then recently you came to me about your podcast and you gave me your list of movies for me to choose from. And I saw Body Snatchers on the list. And I was like, okay, this might be a good opportunity to finally cover Invasion of the Body Snatchers, because I'll choose Body Snatchers for her show. And then I'll ask her to come on to my show so we can compare the 50s and 70s movies together. And yeah, it just worked out. You were down. That's why I picked Body Snatchers.
It's a good idea. We've already discussed a lot the 1956 version and 1978 version. That's not going to come up in conversation. This movie starts off with a family. They've moved in the middle of nowhere, Alabama military base. We get the structure of Marty, the teenage girl of the family. There also is a 5-year-old boy, a dad, and the stepmother to the teenage girl. I'm not crazy about intro narration, but I know there was so much production messing up in the background. Marty, a teenage girl, is going to be our main protagonist, maybe. And you know what? This is the first time I've noticed in all 3 of these movies. It took 3 movies for me to put it together, okay? The main character, our protagonist, is someone that meant to investigate. In the first one, it's the hometown's doctor. He knows everyone, but he's been away. And so he comes back to the town, and so he's able to notice maybe these things are really actually different. Maybe it's not something to shrug off. Donald Sutherland's a health inspector, and it's a really big scene where we see like he's othered against the employees at the restaurant. He just found a rat turd in the food. And then he goes out and he sees they put a rock on his windshield, which looks like the vines. There's a whole group of the restaurant people. So like, we did it. So this would be the first time that a protagonist would be somebody that isn't meant to investigate, but we get a dual protagonist thing going on that I don't think is executed perfectly, but it's fine, with the dad, because the dad is sent from the FDA to check on the waters around the military base to see if it's infecting the environment. So he's there to investigate, but they don't know anybody there. In terms of isolation, even in the city, we got the idea that these people are isolated.
We've got the army base, which in Alabama in the South. And so that's a great location to start at, because you have this family who is isolated from the rest of the world, surrounded by these military folks who, in a lot of ways, and reflecting on the first 2 films, are like pod people. So it was like a genius idea to have them there. Instead of the aliens infiltrating a city, they are being brought to the military base instead and then being turned. I do like how we do change the protagonist to a young teenager, because we get to see her perspective versus people who have a little bit of more of authority. They probably did that because in the 90s, the whole final girl trope was becoming a huge thing. So they said, you know what, let's go ahead and do that shift, making her our new lead, giving her the narration, which with having narration is silly in a horror movie because you already know that this person's going to make it probably until the end.
Yeah,
So
but they
that,
do it lightly. They
yeah,
want to make sure we understand what's happening in the beginning and the end because, again, there
yeah,
was a lot of production problems with this, and there was a lot of
sure.
it cut out, which maybe the dual protagonist with the dad would feel more natural with what was cut out. I couldn't say because I feel
Okay.
like we get a lot of his perspective because he's in places that she can't be in the lab and all that kind of stuff. She feels like an outsider in her family because, she doesn't like her stepmom, who's super nice, by the way, and only 10 years older than her. I don't think
Yeah.
that's supposed to be a thing. I think that's just a casting thing.
Yeah, that's just a casting thing.
So
She's
she,
apparently like 22 during filming The Teenager, so thank
yeah,
goodness, because she's full on naked in the film. So
quite a long time,
yeah.
quite a bit. So is mom for a little bit. Just so you know. Within her family dynamic, she feels like an outsider, and being a teenage girl, you feel like an outsider. No one understands.
Yep.
To be fair, being a teenage girl is very difficult. I would never do it again. Not
Same.
recommend it. Not recommend it. 0 out of 10. Uh, we don't get a lot of interaction between the soldiers there, which would have been interesting to see because they're following orders, and maybe the most you could notice is they're being less social. Huh? He's less talky today. They are also set apart, the military folks, in a conversation with Marty, our teenage girl, makes a friend in a very cool way. She just drives out of nowhere, and she's all punk rock, and she's wearing
Yep.
this other girl. She's wearing Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds t-shirt, which his most famous song is from The X-Files, from the original Scream, from Peaky Blinders, is Red Right Hand. I wish Friends come in just like that, like assholes, punk rock, ready to go have some fun, and then they get in the
Hell
car and they
yeah.
become friends. First thing you do when you become friends with someone is show off your alcoholic mom.
Yep, exactly.
Not that it ever really comes to be important. She's the daughter of General Platt, who is the head of the facility, played by Lee Emery, who is the drill sergeant of all time. I didn't know they stack shit that high from Full Metal Jacket. Another moment we get that the military folk are different, which is more surprising. Dad's always got his glasses on, and it's very 90s glasses, I gotta say. It's all thing about this movie is it's 90s. Collecting water, and Forrest Whitaker appears, and he's a military doctor. He's not just a civilian. So that's why it was surprising. He's okay, so I want you to report to me like all the stuff about the water, like everything.
Mhm.
I want you to tell me everything because we know he's separating himself because he knows they're not right.
Yes, that was a very powerful scene. Like his whole role is super powerful. We only see him twice in that scene and in the end of the film. That's just the word I can only think of is powerful for him. He just conveys the fear. And if you didn't watch the first two films and didn't know anything about the Body Snatchers novel, that's when you start to get worried and you're freaking the hell out. If you are familiar with the story, Forrest get introduced, you're like, oh yeah, it's about to go down. And you're expecting Forrest Whitaker's character, General or Dr. Collins, and the dad to work together more. And unfortunately, they don't. But he's a good warning signal for the film and
Cute.
to get things going. Yeah.
Because he has a level of authority. I don't know pins on the military or anything, but he's got a lot of them, all right? But he's only
Right.
credited as Dr. Collins. I assume he's a general of some sort of level. I do got to say about Alcoholic Mom is that if I was married to Lee Ermey, I would drink too. So
He never really sees him either because he's never at home. He's always working, and she's just at home
good.
alone.
That would be good for me, actually. I don't know anything much about the actor and the characters. If it wasn't for this whole pod people, he seems fine. You could tell there's a lot of opinions you're not going to like. But
Yeah.
in real life, he wouldn't, like when you go in a cart and you're driving in the studio cart kind of thing, he wouldn't let a woman drive him. I'm like, that doesn't shock me at all. I
Oh
wouldn't
my
want to drive
God.
him.
Give
Good.
me a break.
Good,
Yeah.
because I don't want it. Good.
Jeez.
We're
The
clear.
ego.
Samesies.
Mhm.
So it's absurd. So we get a mixture of dad and a mixture of Marty, the teenage girl, and we get a mixture of, I want to say Andy because of Child's Play, but I
Yeah, I
don't.
think so.
Is it
I
really
think
Andy?
no, it is, and I think that's why they did that too. I want to say because Jen Platt is also in Child's Play 2. I want to say,
And Child's Play 3.
um,
She's in a couple of them, yeah.
yeah, I feel like that was just like a, hey, we like Child's Play homage there.
Yeah,
So
why
yes, it
not?
was Andy.
Yeah, so okay, I'm not crazy. To me, it was the most dread-filled scene, but also hilarious. How did you feel about the finger painting in the daycare scene?
One of my first thoughts about that is that I get that they needed to be creating the same kind of painting to show that they were all pod children, but they could have at least not printed out 30 of the same exact painting because I was looking at it very closely. It's
It
the
was
exact
exactly the
same.
same.
I'm like, come on, y'all could have spent $1 more to print out each individual paintings for these children. But no,
Or
I
just
thought,
make them like same colors, like general
yeah,
shape, but no, the
yeah.
same one. If I
And
were Andy, I'm like, I'm sorry, mine's better than yours and
and
everybody else's.
And it's true because his work of art was actually a wonderful work of art. It was
It had
symmetrical, it was
emotional.
abstract, it was emotional, it was beautiful.
He
You know,
books it.
seeing,
Everyone's working. Which is an appropriate response. You're like,
yeah,
no. So he
to
runs
me, it was
obviously
pretty
to his mommy.
smart for his age because I'm like, okay, he's getting some intuition right there. He's got the gears going in his brain. I felt like it was a little bit intelligent beyond his years to be like, this isn't right. And then I'm just going to go take care of myself and get the hell out of here.
I don't
So,
think I would
yeah,
have been that smart
I
if
don't,
I,
me
because
neither. I
I'm
don't
like,
think
an
so.
adult says I should go to sleep. I'm not against that. Okay.
Exactly.
I would have got. I wasn't that bright of a kid. Um,
Yep.
she's a teacher. She must know what's right to do,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
Even though I knew a lot of adults that didn't know the right thing. A guy, just a guy, picks up Andy and figures out where he lives, and he meets Marty there. And this guy, okay, so I just want to say something a little bit about him.
Ew.
The okay, so I'm glad that we're feeling a similar energy. So his name is Billy Wirty, Wirty. If you look him up on IMDb, he was a model, but it's the most MySpace of like.
Yes.
In The Lost Boys, we have one of the Coreys. We've got Kiefer Sutherland, and then there's a blonde, long hair one, and the long, dark haired one. And we know the other one's Marco because they talk about killing Marco a lot. He's the long, brown haired vampire in Lost Boys that got the death by stereo. So the way he looks at you is uncomfortable. So
Yes.
he's supposed to be cool. And he shows
Supposed
up,
to
and him
be.
and Marty have an interaction. And when he leaves, he's like, I'll see you around. But she can't leave it there. Oh no. She's like, where? Come on, girl, be a little bit mysterious. Like, where?
Shit.
Where could I? She says it in a very appropriate, flirty way, but
I get that some states the legal age is 17, but if you're over 21 and in the military, why do you
he
want to have a
shot somebody in
connection?
Kuwait. Okay, he shouldn't.
Yes.
She's maybe even 15. The actress is 22, 23, but the character is supposed to be about 16.
I think
So,
because she's ready to turn 18, right? She only had like X amount of time before she was 18 and can just leave the house. And he's, you can just leave now, the dad says. But maybe she's
yeah,
a little
that
bit younger, but
sucked
I feel
there.
like she's
Like, who says
just, yeah, just there. Yeah.
that? Yeah, let's say he's 21. She can't even drink. She's not legal. Like, inappropriate.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
inappropriate. It's 1993. Just relax. Just relax. It's 1993. That's.
Exactly.
I didn't look up how old he was in this movie. He looks like a later
Yeah.
20s. It's inappropriate. Anyway,
Yeah.
their first
Mhm.
kiss moment. When you have the first kiss kind of conversation where you're not going to kiss and you talk about how sad you are, your mom died 7 years ago, and he tells you how he shot a guy in Kuwait. Romantic. Then they have a kiss. And in that kissing scene, he's like staring down. And I'm like, whoa, back away. Like, even on the screen.
That's the best he can do because his acting is a little bit lackluster. So the staring is his best trait. You can tell just from his work that he really leaned on his looks. He really didn't have much else to offer.
That picture on IMDb, go look it up.
Please.
And he's got dark hair, and I'm not exaggerating.
And he doesn't look like that anymore. I'll tell you that. I looked him
Oh, it's
up
a
in
picture from when
2020.
he's probably
Yeah.
younger than this movie. When he was in this movie, it's old.
Yep. Yeah.
So how did you feel about their relationship, besides the inappropriate part? There's nothing to say, really.
Yeah, it was cool just to see our two outsiders. We have Marty, who is going against the grain in her family, and then Tim is going against the grain in the military, and they have found each other. They're fighting against what is happening around them and doing it together now toward the end. Seeing that, I enjoyed seeing them work together. It was, yeah, when
Marty
I
makes it
to the
more
hell.
bearable.
Yes, she does. It just always cracks me up toward the end. I'm not going to give away too much like you asked, but when they're about to get onto the helicopter and she's, wait, we got to wait for my brother and he's around here somewhere. And he's like, oh, we'll come back for him. Or basically, in so many words, forget that. We're leaving the child. Let's just go. That part is just obviously she's not going to want to leave her brother, but obviously, too, Marty, like, he's probably dead already. He's probably a pod kid
Probably
already.
okay, so I will give a little bit of the end away because it was so funny to me. It's inappropriate that I think it's funny. They get on the helicopter and they may or may not escape, okay? But they do get Andy, and he's a pod person, and there's a long fight with her and a 5-year-old on that
Eh.
helicopter. And there's like a bad green screen mix up when he falls out. And when he falls out of the helicopter, he goes,
It's good but bad at the same time.
I don't defend children being killed in a movie. He was a pod
No, I
person.
love
It's
it.
okay.
Yes. Kill all the kids.
Andy's
Stop
already
doing
dead.
that.
He's gone.
I want to say they could have maybe done it better, but that probably was the best that they could have done. Just because the effects were a little bit off, I was taken out of it and chuckled a little bit. But in hindsight, it is really great what they did and that decision that they made in doing that. So
I think
loved it.
Andy suffered the most, as we just gave you his fate. Okay, so we're giving a lot away about this movie. I'm sorry. He sees his mom
good.
and his dad both dry up, foam up, and become husks. Both of them, not at the same time, separate times.
Yes.
He's way more in tune with what's going on than anybody else because he's so close to his mom, and she's one of the first ones that gets got in this family dynamic. And of course, she's already the stepmom. You know what? I felt like the pod people were more aggressive in this movie. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I didn't really care for them being able to trick people the way that they did emotionally.
It's
And,
too
I
emotional.
fucked your girlfriend, or oh, I saw Andy. Because they did a little bit of tricking in the 50s and 70s, but they were just too aggressive and just too emotional, I felt.
They were too emotional for me. There's no big outburst. The guy who's telling our main boyfriend character, I fuck your girlfriend, which is not true. And there's no, he hasn't fucked his girlfriend yet, as far as me. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. I hope not. I've decided, oh, you know what? That's an avenue I don't care about. But he's a pod person. In the other Body Snatchers movies, he would just say, it's so much easier this way. No, it would be like the convincing. That's what they do in the other films.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But this is a very fun, nostalgic film. Another one, horror movie that's a lot like very 90s that isn't a big one is Ticks. Have you seen Ticks?
I haven't yet.
So this movie is very 90s. Are there other films that are horror films, because you're mostly a horror presenter, that feel quintessentially 1990s horror or science fiction?
Yeah, for me, I would have to say The Craft.
Oh, yeah.
Stir of Echoes.
Kevin
Misery.
Bacon's a little cutie.
Yes, he is. Candyman and Misery. Love those. Some of my favorites. Say those.
There is one scene that it's obvious. Okay, we've got Lee Ermey and Forrest Whitaker in this movie. We're just gonna put aside everything else so they can have a conversation. Yeah. Forrest Whitaker is really good. Not that Lee Ermey isn't. So they have that tit for tat back conversation that is the closest you get to people in the military talking about what's going on, because Ermey is already.
Yep. It always bugged me because I watched this a couple of times for our chat today, and it bugged me both times that when Andy is telling Marty about his mom dying and then also says they get you when you sleep, it's like, why didn't that ring an alarm in her brain? Because she had that exchange with the MP at the bathroom at the gas station. Our characters,
yes, I know, right?
always get warnings at the gas station, and they're always dismissed. Our quintessential gas station in a horror.
Look, I
And
understand being traumatized. Okay, obviously he was unwell and he didn't hurt me or anything, but it's still not life traumatizing. But last week might
yeah,
be a little jarring. But then when Andy says they get you when you sleep, I'd be like, fuck. Because
yeah,
there's something going on.
something.
We get a nice
And
ode to Nightmare on Elm Street.
yeah, yeah,
In the bathtub. She's listening to
yes.
music in the bathtub. Although it doesn't come up, does it? It comes
Yeah, from the top, from the ceiling.
her soon to
Those
be other self if it was to form.
and those effects, man, are just beautiful. This is the film's strength, are the effects. If the effects weren't that good, this movie wouldn't be that appealing. So thank God for these amazing ass all practical effects.
Yeah, we
Beautiful.
see a lot of how it's just going into your body, these plant-like little
Yes.
healers, and I like it.
Yes. And just to go back to General Platt, Ermey's character, I do like how he is subdued the whole time, just like the pod people are supposed to be. He doesn't ever really raise his voice. He's just always even keel, and that kind of makes him even more creepy. And I love that.
Yeah, I always picture him yelling.
Yep, that's him.
She starts to believe things more when her awesome punk rock friend, Jen, is okay. You got to come over, and she comes over, and we're showcasing alcoholic mom again. But she's like, drink
She
this
just
to
drinks it.
Marty. It's water. She's that's exactly right. My mom would have vodka in this. That's not my
Mhm.
mother. And the mother goes to Bridge, and she's like, once I knew it was only water. That's not my mother.
Yeah.
I don't think
Truly.
alcoholism is funny, by the way. It's funny in this movie.
It is the way that they present it. It totally is. I felt too there were just too many Dutch angles. I know we did that a lot in the 70s film, but for this movie it was just almost too slanted and too much. I get it was trying to be disorienting and all of that and raising the tension a little bit, but they could have done with less or just made it less angled for me sometimes, especially
Also,
in that scene.
there's a little flair to the cinematographer, Bojan Bazeli. Some other movies we might recognize. He did The Ring, the American version. He was the cinematographer for that.
Nice.
Boxing Helena. You would only understand that if you've seen Boxing Helena.
Yeah, I've not
Directed
seen.
by okay, stars Julian Sands and
Okay.
the actress who plays Audrey from Twin Peaks, directed by David Lynch's daughter,
Oh, cool.
Helena. Also, Burlesque with Cher and Christina Aguilera. Wagon Wheel, what
Okay.
to see? Some colorful films.
Awesome. Okay. Very
We haven't talked about the director, Abel Ferrara. I think my favorite
Mm.
film of his is Miss 45.
Oh
That,
yeah, that's a good one.
do you have a film that you like by him in particular?
Yeah, I do like that one. I saw that one I think last year for the first time, and I also love Bad Lieutenant. Bad Lieutenant is
I haven't seen Bad Lieutenant.
oh, you got to see it with Harvey Keitel, and you get to see him full frontal too, and him coming to terms with his religion and his evil side. It's great. I love the ending of that one. It's just intense crime and just sadness. It's
Oh,
a
I
good
gotta watch
one.
that. That's a good one.
Yes.
I gotta dive in.
Yeah, so it's interesting that Abel did do this because he didn't really do horror before this. And yes, Body Snatchers is a sci-fi thriller with heavy horror elements in it, so it was surprising to see him do this. It was the first film that he did that was backed by a major studio, and he had actually replaced Stuart Gordon, who was part of the writing team for the screenplay.
What's your
Gordon ended up
favorite Stuart Gordon film?
so I know he's done Reanimator and all these iconic films, but honestly, one of my favorites is this movie called Stuck.
Yeah. Is that the film with the unhoused person? I've seen that. It's intense.
Yes, yes. Mina Suvari is just perfect in that movie. I absolutely love it. So, with that being said, I do wish I would have seen what Stuart Gordon could have done with this since he was part of the writing team. But seeing Abel get away from the gritty stuff that he typically does and do something a little bit more polished was interesting to see. And he did a great job. And he didn't have any say in the writing. And he himself didn't like that the fact that it took place on a military base. I feel that sentiment because there is some hollowness for me when I watch this, and I just think it's because his heart wasn't totally in it. And
He hated the
directed,
idea.
yeah, had it been directed by somebody whose heart was in it and who was part of the writing team, I think it would have been just a little bit better.
There are other slight homages. I feel when Andy is running away from daycare. That's how the 1956 version almost opens. Besides the him talking, I'm going to tell my
Yeah.
story now. Is a kid Andy's age runs or close right into the street, and they're like, "What are you doing? My mommy's not my mommy. My mommy's not my mommy." That's when it starts. So I feel like there's a not a shot for shot close, but I feel like the idea is there, perhaps.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I
And
see
it was
that.
its boyfriend character that picks him up and brings him over to Marty. And he no personality, but I guess do we need to know his personality? I don't know.
No, it's all about Marty and the dad, like you said, and Andy for the most part. So,
It's one of those films that it's popcorn. It's fun. I enjoyed watching it, and I, of course, being in my 30s, it has so much nostalgia. It wouldn't be one I would. Not that I usually rate films here. It wouldn't be one I'm like, oh, you got to see, but you should. You should. It's worth it. The ending is very different than the other films, depending on how you
yeah.
interpret it, but very different. So if you watch it, you can interpret that. It's a fun. It's fun. Although it's not. It doesn't just
Yeah.
disintegrate into maybe. No, there's a lot happens in the ending. It's a simple film where we already know the Body Snatchers lore, whether you've seen the films or not. You got the idea, and we figure out, okay, it's saying something about family dynamics, and is her dad becoming a different person now that he has a new wife and a new kid? And is Marty a different person because her mom died and she doesn't fit in with her family? Because
Yeah.
there was a big interpretation about the nuclear family. Oh, if we don't have this nuclear family in the first film, someone interpreted this. It's not my interpretation at all. Oh, they got divorced because one of the main characters, who's a love interest, she got divorced. And they're like, oh, that's about that. I'm like, I don't agree. You're probably dead. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to have your opinion. What was interesting to me in 90s movies and late 80s movies, mom's always dead. Always. I
It's
think
true.
about, okay, in the 1956 original, a main character who was female and was not ostracized at all, doing her own thing, was divorced. Why does mom always have to be dead? I just say it was a bad
The
divorce. She's
drama.
not around. Just yeah, because you
Yeah.
can't get divorced. God
Yeah.
forbid. God forbid mistakes are made, because they are.
Yeah. So this one obviously didn't get the commercial success that the first two received,
Oh,
but
it only came out in 40
it
theaters,
did
right?
in later years. And critics do still, even though it doesn't really get talked about when you talk about the first two movies, people still like the atmosphere and the tension that it was able to build. It was just super dark and it created paranoia. Abel Ferrara was good at giving you that sense of existential dread. There was a little bit of that, even though at times for me, again, it still felt a little bit hollow from time to time, but the tension was still there for me as well. This was a time during a digital revolution in the 90s, and people were feeling more watched because we were getting computers and all that stuff. So I think it really resonated with audiences in that time, in our age, anybody living in the 90s and going through that. Then being able to watch it today or in 25 years and living through the 90s and being able to watch this movie in that time, it would resonate and you get those 90s surveillance vibes for sure.
Do you feel like this film is a good addition to the first two, which are beloved films?
Yeah, I think so because the first two are vastly different from each other, and this just gives us a third rounding out of this world, which is vastly different from those two. All three films are sci fi movies, but this one really gets dark and gloomy, and it's very different. I could compare the 1993 effects to the 78 effects, and I love them both. I can't really say I like one more than the other.
They are
So,
smaller, which are
yeah.
just more compact. It's the 90s. We make things more
The parts,
compact.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's not the 70s anymore. We make it
Yeah.
compact and we give it skip protection. Um
Yeah. It did great with the sound design too, just like the 70s version. They focused on making sure it
Those
sounded
wet,
really
like
creepy, yeah, and
sounds.
woomy and all of that. Just beautiful, the sound design.
I agree with Abel Ferrara having it set in a military base. Interesting idea if you pull it off well, but it's a hard idea. I don't think they explored it enough. We had the boyfriend character who could have served us more in the story in the sense that he is with the military, with the boys, and we could see maybe one or two scenes where he notices something unrelated to Marty, the love interest. Hey,
Yeah.
he's not usually like that. We do in the bar a little bit, but he didn't seem to know that guy because we see the guy from the gas station come in
Yeah.
to the bar where Marty and what's his face are having a date, and he didn't seem to know him, so there was no, hey,
Yeah.
he's acting weird. It would have
Right.
taken just that, and because she only knows him as gas station guy, there was no reflect. That doesn't sound like him. That's weird. But they don't really connect it, and I think maybe,
That
as you said, that Ferrara's, let's get it done. Let's get it done. It's so
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It works because we don't also see any of the military people's faces. We do see folks, but it's usually obscured by light or it's a little bit blurry or somebody's standing in front of them. The only faces of military folks that we see fully, completely lit and in focus are Dr. Collins, General Platt, and Tim.
It's
The people at
intentional, or
I
it's
think
like
that's intentional, just to make them blend in and conform into one homogenous group of people. And the people who we do see are, like I said, the general, who's the leader of this particular base, and then Tim, who's the outsider who's being isolated from the military, and then Collins, who never became a pod person at all. So definitely obscuring their face and not giving them any kind of identity.
yeah, when we see the
Purpose.
accident in the lab where they're trying to hide that his wound is from the dad character, that the wound is
Yeah.
healing, they're in like these total suits. You're right.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. I didn't notice. I didn't really pay attention to that. I didn't. The homogeneousness of the group. What do you think is the best scene in the movie? You go. I have
Oh
one.
shoot. I love when mom gets
Me too.
squished up in bed. When we see dad's pod double go underneath the bed because he didn't get to finish forming. I like
And
that one.
Marty's I didn't expect it to fall down, so it was like an
Yeah.
instant laugh. It's not badly done. Don't get I just was surprised
It
because I
don't make
didn't think it was
sense. It
gonna
doesn't make
fall
no sense at
down.
all.
But it's fun to watch. It's
Yeah, I
fun
like
to
watching
watch.
it though.
My favorite scene, which I swear I dropped something, I'm so certain of this. It's a sound bite somewhere. I can't place it, whether it's somebody's podcast or it's something. It's a sound bite for some other horror thing. It's when everyone realizes mom is not mom anymore. They're trying to run and leave, and she's like, "Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna run? There's no one else like you." She just says it in a way. I'm like, I swear someone uses that as a soundbite, which is cool. When they run out the door, that's when
Yeah. Actually, she was the one who wrote that line, Meg
she
Tilly.
is.
Yeah, so
Good
like
for her. It's the best line in the movie.
because Abel came in, like I said, toward the end, he wasn't really going off the script too much when it came to dialogue. When they were working that scene, he was like, you know what, you can just do whatever you want. She was just workshopping different things, and then that was what she came up with, and that whole bit is her.
That's so good to know, because to me, when it comes to dialogue, that's the only one it stands out like it's meant to
Oh
be
yeah.
in the trailer or what have you. It's intense and I love it. It's my favorite part of the movie completely. It's interesting to know who's the actress that wrote
Yeah.
it. Maybe she should have directed. I don't know. I like Abel Ferrara. You have to get the job done sometimes. You should go see Body Snatchers if you haven't. You got to be a completist like me. Just do it. It's so lovely that you came on and you were my guest. Is there any other
Oh.
projects or anything you want to promote, and where can we find you?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for having me. It was such an honor to be here. Coming up, I actually just got done with an interview I did with John Evernal, a Turkish
Cool.
director. It actually just finished its first round of film festivals. It's about to do its second run here, and the film will soon be available in the US, so somewhere at the end of 2025. You can check that out, and my review of that movie will be coming out very soon. I also am going to be putting out very soon our episode of my comparison series of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
You mentioned those projects. Can you do something for me?
Sure.
For me? I hope
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay that I ask.
Yeah.
Can you do the thing that you do in the beginning of your podcast? Please? Please. Oh, yeah,
Sure,
okay.
of course.
Yeah. I'm ready for
Right
it.
now?
Yeah,
Okay.
right now.
Should I look in the camera? Let's see. Which
Yeah,
way should I look?
whatever you desire.
Welcome, fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare?
Are you ready for a scare? I love it. I love it.
Yep, there you go.
Thank you for that too. So also I'll have all the links, down below.
Yeah.
Go check her out and
Hit me up.
and don't go to sleep.